All right, welcome back, White Sox fans. We have episode 11, which is crazy, of our Ladies Night podcast. And super excited to have a very special guest with us today. I'm Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, and I am your host. And I have my friend from Southside Sox. I have Delia with me as a co-host. And then we have a wonderful, wonderful special guest with us tonight, Julie Swieca Gannon. Julie is a Chicago area native. She spent her formative years in Mount Prospect in Arlington Heights. She holds a radio, TV, film degree from Northwestern University, and established a strong presence in the sport broadcasting world during a decade at 670 The Score. And she earned recognition as one of the 10 most powerful women in Chicago sports by the Sun Times, which is awesome. She also pursued her passion for culinary arts by graduating from Kendall College and gaining local and national acclaim as a pastry chef. She is currently operating her own venture, I Need a Sweet, but her professional aspirations lie in finding a unique opportunity that creatively merges both her broadcast and culinary expertise. And she is currently enjoying life in Lake of the Hills with her spouse, her stepson, and her 3 beloved Shih Tzus, which you have so many cool things to talk about. But I'm like, the dogs, the dogs. I need to hear about the dogs.
They're the best. They're such a little bundle of love. And actually, we had a Maltese named Minnie, and Minnie made the broadcast at Dog Day when Minnie was still around. She had a White Sox dress and a White Sox bow in her hair. And they taped the Dog Day footage from the parade around the field. And I'm at the concession stand getting hot dogs for the dogs. And I look up, I'm like, that's my dog. I was so excited that Minnie was on the broadcast. So we had Minnie, and then we got Wicket, who is currently 8. Wicket is named after the Jedi in Return of the Jedi, the Ewok Wicket.
Oh, cute.
And then when we lost Minnie 2 years ago, we just had Wicket, and he was lonely, and we wanted another dog. And we had a woman bring over a couple dogs for us to look at, and we had it narrowed down to 2, and we couldn't decide. So she said, why don't you keep them overnight so you can decide?
Oh, boy.
Oh, you know how that's going to end, right?
Yeah, we're taking them both.
Well, and my husband kept saying to me, we're only getting one dog. We're only getting one dog. So I'm afraid to say anything. And the next morning he said, do you want them both? I said, yeah, I want them both. So we kept them both. So there's Fu, who is 2.5. Fu has like a little, when we got him, had a little Fu Manchu mustache, so he's Fu. And Moki is this beautiful white and brown color, and he will be 2 this month. And so I have 2 little ones, like under the age of 3, and then we got the 8-year-old who I call our OG. And they're just the best little guys, and I can't wait to take. Wicket has been to Dog Day, and my husband, the Cubs fan, thought it was great that Wicket peed and pooped on the field. Go figure, right? And then I have a picture of me and Minnie with the Minnie Minoso statue, which I thought was really cool.
Well, that is so sweet. Like, I could learn a million other things about you, but the fact that you have 3 dogs that you just love to pieces, I'm like, that's it. That's all I need to know. He's a fantastic person.
I'm literally the person who pulls out my phone and says, want to see my dog? To like people in the grocery store. I was doing it to the dental receptionist the other day. Honestly, like they're just, I now have I'm not an Instagram person. I'm very bad at it. I have my own page, but it has like 5 pictures on it. I just started an Instagram page or channel or whatever for my dogs. So they are on Instagram under Bat Shih Tzu Crazy. And
that's so creative. I love that.
I have like 3 pictures and a video up, and that's it. But they're going to be stars.
Work in progress. I like it. I took the initiative to do it because I am also one of those people that I'm like, I have amazingly adorable dogs, and I need to do something about sharing that with other people. And then I just don't.
And what kind are yours?
I have 2 rescues. So I have a Cavachon named Freddie. And he's a Cavalier and a Bichon, and he is 6. And then I have a Cavapoo, that's a Cavalier, and a Poodle, and his name is Ernie, and he is 2. So they're like the loves of, I just love them so much. Like,
I'm sensing play date at a future Dog Day.
Yes.
We bring them all. The problem is, I think you can only, well, technically you're only supposed to bring one, but my husband and I each brought one when we had Minnie and Wicket. But now that we have 3, I'm like, I got to find somebody else to go with us so that all 3 dogs can go.
Bring the extra dog.
Yeah,
I think I have the biggest dog. He is 99 pounds, golden retriever. Buck.
Oh my gosh.
After Uncle Buck. The only appropriate name we could think of. And he got recognized, or not recognized, but Shriffen liked my tweet about like, he's a little shy. He will go to a dog day at the park, but he didn't want to go in September. It's not his favorite month. Or like it was the April one. I was like, it's a little too cold. He might go in September. He might not.
See, now we got to get Delia's dog there too. We need Uncle Buck and Melissa's too, and my 3, and they'll meet on like the concourse at a little grassy knoll, and
it'll be a doggy party.
Exactly, and I'll bring the doggy cupcakes. I make them. I got this.
Oh yeah, we got our pastry chef. We don't
have to worry about.
There you go. Yeah, if you ever need treats for your dogs, let me know.
Oh, awesome. I knew you made amazing human things because I stalked your page, your Facebook page with all your beautiful pictures, but I didn't know you made dog treats too.
I do. I actually, I had posted on my business page on Facebook, I'm welcoming a new client, 7-year-old Max, who just happens to be.
I did see that. That's right. You baked him a cake.
Yes. So it was like a month ago or so, and I love doing it. It's like a little doggy carrot cake with like a kind of tapioca icing. It's very like low sugar, healthy for you. And then I always put like little milk bones on it or some sort of dog treat. And I actually have a cake client, a human cake client, and I've made pup cakes for her Westies. And the dogs know me as the cupcake lady. Like,
so they know excited.
She brought us treats. This lady is awesome. So
yeah, right. This lady is awesome. She can do everything.
Thank you. It's a very unique following, that little like sect of,
my dog might follow you home.
Dog cupcakes.
Well, I want to kind of kick off, other than talking about our pets, which we could all probably talk about for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit first about your first career in broadcasting. So I know you went to Northwestern, but were you always somebody who was like, from a young age, like I love sports, I love baseball, I need to do this like as an adult?
Yes. And a lot of that came from like watching the Bears with my dad. We would watch the Bears on Sunday. And so that's how I grew up. By 13, I was running the football pool for my dad's brokerage firm. And
awesome.
I would do like a little newsletter. It was called the Goal Line Gazette. And I'm doing it on like an Apple IIe back in the 80s. And I would put like little Peanuts cartoons of like Charlie Brown and the football getting pulled away. And I'd have like new notes from all over the newspapers. I would sit there and scan and like just compile it. This was before the internet, obviously. And my dad would pass it out to the guys on Fridays. And then they'd submit their picks. And my dad and I would be there on Sunday night, totaling up points, going into the Monday night game. And I mean, that's how I grew up. And I fell in love with the Super Bowl Bears. And, when I was in grade school, I was putting Jim McMahon pictures up on the bulletin board where my teacher would say, that's for my super spellers. That's my super spellers bulletin board. And I'm putting Jim McMahon's picture up there. And then the White Sox were good in 83. So my dad was a Sox fan and I got hooked on the 83 White Sox. So from an early age, I loved watching sports with my dad. And my mom, we would, the whole family went to sporting events. We went to college football games. We went to college basketball. But I didn't play sports. I was very bad at it. I went to basketball camp one summer and I was a hot mess playing defense. But I loved watching it. I loved talking about it, which kind of led to my wanting to go into sports broadcasting. And at the time, there weren't a million female sideline reporters. There, here and there. Linda Cohn hadn't even really come on the scene yet. Gail Gardner was the one I kind of aspired to be. And there really weren't a lot of women to follow. Jeannie Morris was at Channel 2 at the time. She did a lot of things with the Ditka show. Those were the women who were actually on TV that I could say, oh my gosh, I could do this. And so from about 8th grade on, I said I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, and there I went.
And there you did it. You did it. And that's I think I'm like just a couple years older than you. And I also like just grew up loving it and wanted to do something, but I like I didn't like feel like I could do it. Like I was like, I don't think I can do it. Like, so the fact that you saw a few people and you're like, no, like I can do this. Like, but I respect that so much because I didn't feel like there was a pathway or had the confidence or had the support or whatever to like make it happen. So the fact that you did, I absolutely love that and have so much respect for that.
Thank you. And I was the exact opposite. I walked into Northwestern like, yeah, step aside. I'm going to do this. And we had a student radio station, WNUR, and you could apply to be on the sports staff. So like my first week or two at school, they were doing interviews for the sports positions, which pretty much everybody who interviewed got in. But I'm in this hallway while we're all waiting to interview with like 10 other guys. And they're talking sports. So I'm trying to chime in and, make myself part of the group. And they'd say something like, oh, who won the Miami game yesterday? I'd say, oh, Dolphins, 17-13. And they'd be like, yeah, okay. And then they'd go back to ignoring me. And then they'd bring up some other sports thing and I'd chime in and they'd go back to ignoring me. And finally, my last ditch at like being nice was, hey, if anybody wants, I've got some magazines, if anyone wants to flip through them. And this one guy looked at me and said, I'm sorry, I don't read 17. I said, I don't either. I have Inside Sports and Sports Illustrated. And at that point, I was like, ain't no stopping me now. I was so fired up. I went into that interview. I made my case that I needed to be doing sports updates on WNUR. And 4 years later, I was the sports director for WNUR. I had a staff of 60 people. And I don't know what happened to those guys that said they didn't read 17, but they weren't sports director. I know that much.
So were you like one of the only women there too in at the student? Okay.
Yes, wow. There were like 2 or 3 other women who were on my sports staff, and one of them I actually do still keep in touch with on Facebook. Rachel Nichols, who has made her name at ESPN, was on the Daily Northwestern. She was on the print side. So she was there when I was, but she went to the print journalism side and I was in broadcast. But I loved it because I was coordinating all these road trips to go cover football games in the Big Ten and basketball games in the Big Ten and baseball in the Big Ten. And that kind of wet my whistle for what it was going to be like to be at sporting events once I got out of school. And little naive me thinking I graduated Northwestern and I was the sports director of WNUR, which it's not like we were a huge powerhouse station. I thought I was going to walk out of Northwestern into like an on-air sports reporter job. Ha ha ha. And I had 2 job offers shortly after I graduated. And one was to be a sports update person on WJOB in Hammond, Indiana. And one was to be a part-time producer at The Score. And, you could go one of 2 ways. You could be on air right away in a smaller role, or you could go to a big market, big station and say, I just have to work my way up. And I rolled the dice and it worked. I started at The Score as a part-time producer and I just made myself invaluable. Like if they needed somebody to go cover a press conference and they didn't have a reporter free, they didn't even care if I was on air. They'd be like, just go get tape. Okay. And I would hop in the car and I'd drive to whatever press conference. And eventually I covered enough breaking stories that Mike North and Dan Jiggets would put me on the air with breaking news. So when the Blackhawks traded Jeremy Roenick, I was live from the United Center because I got sent to cover it.
That is so cool.
So I kind of just pushed my way into it. And there were years where they hired full-time sports reporters and I wasn't one of them. And I was crushed. It's like, I've been here. I've been paying my dues and working my way up.
Were they men, Julie? Were they men?
Oh, yeah. Do you think The Score had any other women? Their phrase was, it's a guy thing. That was their slogan. Right. And I argued against that. I'm like, you have a female on air and your slogan is it's a guy thing. And they're like, well, the demographics show that, most of our audience is men. I just felt like it was such a slap in the face to any woman who likes sports, can talk sports, knows sports. I knew too many women. And at the time, the NFL numbers were starting to level out a little bit. Women were starting to have just as much of a chunk of NFL fandom as men were. And so I really struggled with that. Like, how am I on a station that believes women shouldn't like sports or shouldn't be included in liking sports? And thankfully we had a couple of female producers that I hung out with and I don't even think they're still in sports, but they kind of boosted my spirits. We'd go out after a shift or a game or whatever, and it made me feel good that these women, could talk sports in a bar with me. And we were actually we were at a bar on Orleans, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, but we would go there and shoot pool, and we would like bet guys, like make a hockey bet or something for drinks, and we won all the time.
Right, because they didn't think you would have any clue.
Right. And so, and it was the same way. We'd shoot pool there, and we were pretty good, I thought. And guys would want to play us for the table or whatever, and we'd always win the table. But one night I'm shooting there, and I had a really tough shot. I crazy, like, you have to shoot down and call combo and blah, 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 and off this rail. And I'm stressed out over the shot. I'm moving around the table, and this guy goes, "Oh, for bleeping, beep, 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 beep. Just put your hand down and shoot it." And it was Chris Chelios. And I was so humiliated. I told my guy friends who were very, very good at pool, I'm like, you guys are going to teach me how to shoot. And we wound up shooting like 3 or 4 nights a week for years, because Chris Chelios made me feel this big that I couldn't hit this pool shot. So in a way, I owe my pool skills to
fight
Chris Chelios.
Wins.
Right?
Fight is a powerful thing.
And I mean, to this day, it's not like I'm, a pool shark. It's not like I'm the color of money in my basement or anything.
All Newman's in the corner.
I mean, at least I can hold my own. Now, my husband, when we were dating, we went and shot pool one night, and just he would run the table, and I'm standing there like, well, this is not fun. I didn't even get a shot. And so I didn't want to play pool with him for years. And then when we got our current sports basement, he got a pool table, and I think we've played pool against each other maybe like 5 times in I don't know how many years. So maybe I'm a little bit of a sore loser, a little bit. but yeah, Chris Chelios is the reason I learned to shoot pool. And that was pretty much my life back then. Was when I was out as a reporter. Once I got promoted, I was covering Bulls games or Sox games or nighttime Cubs games, and you'd leave the ballpark at like midnight, and I was wide awake. I'm like, I can't go home and sleep. My head's like this. And I had guy friends who were either reporters or producers at other stations in town. And we would just go out and have beer and shoot pool and hang out till the bar closed. So that was kind of like my social life in my 20s, because, I didn't have the free time that other people did to, go to dinner. I was at the ballpark, and that was way cooler anyway. So
that sports industry second wind, I turned 21, I'd say 21 in December of 2018. So all like that summer I was working for the Cubs, and all my friends were going out, and I'm like, I can't go out yet. I'm 20. My friends were like, just come in. And I'm like, you guys know I'm a law-abiding citizen. I can't do this yet. But just create a creative lie, and I'll go in. And that second wind, I've had it after working Hawks games, and I go, all right, I can do anything. And I'm like,
right.
I go home, and I'm like, I'm crawling through the door. Like,
yes.
I can't, like, it's bad. It's bad for reasons of being healthy and making good choices, but it's worse.
Yes.
When you still have like, I'm 27, but I'm still 20 in my mind, and I can things.
And I still don't. I can't sleep. I have terrible sleep habits. I think a lot of it goes back to those days.
Permanent. It's a permanent condition. I swear. Yes. It's not insomnia, because you can go to sleep, but it's like once you're like in that weird. My friends and I call it delirium hours, where you're laughing at anything. Yes. Someone could say the most insane, stupid thing, and you think it's the funniest thing on the planet. Yes. And that is just, I try and sum up like, that's the sports industry. You bond with weird people. And then there's like you said, Chris Chelios made me feel this small. I don't have that similar story, but Kyle Schwarber did see me cry once, and it was not a good time for me. And he felt bad, and he asked how I was doing. And I'm like, not well, Kyle. We're not good.
Difference between Kyle Schwarber and Chris Chelios. Chris Chelios made fun of me, and Kyle Schwarber asked how you were feeling.
Kyle Schwarber's defense, he had like 4 sisters. So he saw a woman cry, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no.
Well,
Thank
Chelly,
you.
I think, has sisters, but he's a hockey player, and
Yeah.
you know, a little bit
vast
grittier.
difference of like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I like your delirium hours description, because it would be 3 a.m. and I would be watching Three's Company reruns on Nick.
Oh gosh.
I watched the Golden Girls coming home.
I couldn't go to
It'd be
sleep.
like a Cubs doubleheader. I turn on home. It'd be like a Cubs doubleheader, like late at night. I got home and I'd turn on the Golden Girls, and I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep, and then I'm like, I am wide awake. I am wired. Like
I was
no
at Wrigley.
drink, nothing.
Wired. I was at Wrigley the night Sammy got caught with the cork in his bat.
Oh.
And I had calls from stations all over the country to come on the air with their shows. And a good friend of mine, Robert Buehrle, used to be the pre and post game host for the Oakland A's. And so whenever the Sox and A's were getting ready to play, I'd always do like a pre-series, like, okay, here's what to expect from the White Sox. You know, he'd have me on his pregame shows and whatever. And he asked me to go on the station that night. So he's on West Coast time. I was literally doing reports on stations around the country till 3 a.m. And then the next morning I had to be up on the Score's morning show talking about being there the night before. So that's where like you're up and wired and you can't sleep. And then the alarm goes off and you're like, oh, how many hours did I get? 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and the turnaround. I mean, you even see that with White Sox games. You know, if you cover a night game and you're at a day game the next day, you know, you're dragging a little bit. You're hoping like, oh, please cancel batting practice so everyone can just like stay and sit.
Rain delay. I did the rain delay dance so many times. Working for the Cubs, working for the White Sox and Kids Club, I was like, no. Cut the camera. I'm gone. I'm going to bed.
So sorry. And how many games I sat at that were like, there's a rain delay and then there's extra innings. It happened on Mother's Day at the Cubs one year. They had a rain delay and extra innings. And I'm supposed to be meeting my mom for Mother's Day dinner in Wrigleyville. And I just had to keep saying like, okay, we're still playing. Sorry, I'm still here. And then the game ends and people assume like, oh, well, you can leave, right? No, I have to go get interviews. And then I have to go back and file all the tape with the station. I'm like, I can't just leave. So yeah, there were a lot of holiday events that I was late because of sports. And you just accept it. You just say, if you're going to cover sports for a living, Michael Jordan's Bulls played on Christmas Day every year.
Yeah.
Can you blame NBC for wanting the Bulls? But yeah, I had to leave Christmas Day. You know, we'd open presents. I'd be like, okay, got to go to the United Center. And I was off. And, you know, I don't regret for a second being a part of covering Michael Jordan. But it was a time commitment. It really was.
Yeah, it was a grind. I mean, there's clearly a lot of really positive things about it, but challenges too, right? I mean, and so the time away from, you know, friends and family and late nights and things, I mean, that's certainly part of the cost of what you have to do. So, yeah.
And I'm not going to cry about it. People, you know, would give their eye teeth to be a sports reporter. And, you know, I had great experiences. I have no regrets about, you know, covering the Bulls, the Blackhawks, the Bears, Cubs, Sox, college. I loved every minute of being out in the field and covering stuff like that. And it's the same if you work in a restaurant, if you work in healthcare, if you're a doctor or emergency room nurse, you're working holidays. So, you know, people who work at a grocery store and have to be open on Christmas because people forgot to pick up something.
Yep.
You know, it's not everybody in the world works a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job. And that's kind of what we love about sports. Like when we can sit down at night after dinner and flip on a game and just chill out. So the people that are, you know, relaxing and enjoying it, there's also the people, whether you're players or media or concession stands or whatever, there's the people who have to work it. So it looked really glamorous. It wasn't always, but like I said, I'm never going to complain about, you know, oh, well, I was smushed in the Bulls locker room with all these people covering Michael Jordan. Yeah,
right.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, you're one of how many, like, you know, just handfuls of people who got that opportunity. So,
and I'm not going to pretend like Michael and I were tight. I mean, he knew who I was by face, but
sure.
I was covering a pro-am one day at Kemper Lakes, and Michael Jordan was golfing in it. And when you're covering a golf tournament, you can go under the ropes. You can't like interfere with the play, but you can be inside the ropes. And I'm there like crouched down on the first green, and Michael Jordan's getting ready to tee off, and he looks down and he goes, "Hey." And Andy Mazer, who you may or may not remember, he did Cubs pre and post game for a while. I think he's done some Sox stuff. Andy was covering the pro-am with me, and he's like, "Michael Jordan knew who you were." I'm like,
he recognized you. Yeah. Like, well, it's good. I'm like in his face all the time.
I'm showing a microphone or a camera in his face. Like, it's got to, like a recorder. He's got to remember me somehow.
People covering. I mean, yeah, I saw him on an everyday basis at either practice or games or whatever. But just when you see somebody outside of where you normally see them, it sometimes takes a minute. Like, where do I know that person from? No, he looked down right away and he was like, "Oh, hey." And I just thought, oh my gosh, that was me. He noticed me. And of all the players I've covered, I've covered, Cal Ripken and Mark Buehrle and just like big names that have come through town to play our teams. And Michael Jordan, hands down, is the only one where I've ever felt like, oh my gosh, I'm standing here talking to Michael Jordan. Like, you still felt that way from the first day you covered him to the last day you covered him. You still felt like, I'm in the presence of greatness.
I'm never going to see anything like this again. Yeah.
Yep. And I will go to my grave arguing with anyone who wants to argue about LeBron versus Michael. I won't even. Yeah.
I'm
going to defend Michael's position till I die. So
my mom's the same way. She kind of raised me to be a Jordan just person and like a little sponge, if you will, in terms of sports. Mm-hmm. So just having like someone like my mom just raised me, and then like growing up and just trying to be like, okay, well maybe I could be in sports, maybe I couldn't. I was like you, I did not play basketball well, and I know my mom probably wanted me to play basketball really well because she was really great at basketball. But appreciating like college basketball and also Michael Jordan, and just growing up like with someone, and then my grandmother score kept the 1959 World Series game that my grandpa was at. And so that to me is like, it wasn't just my grandpa. Like it wasn't just the men in my mom's life or the men in my life. It was my grandma was there watching the games, scorekeeping, and I get emotional thinking about it because they've both my grandparents on my mom's side have been gone for years now, but they were like the formative White Sox fans. And so anytime like I saw someone on the sidelines, I was like, oh, okay, my mom's kind of pushing me in this little direction. Mm-hmm. I have not done it yet. I'm not taking the leap, but it's just something that I truly like appreciate. Even if it was like, I was trying to like, I remembered your name because I remembered a little bit like when I was really little hearing you on 670 to score. But I also know like, okay, I don't think my uncles called her or like called in. Like, I can confidently say my uncles probably didn't call in, even though my one uncle's in Baltimore. Like, I doubt they called in because they're like, no, we have 4 sisters. We're not entering this territory. Like, 2 were pre Title IX, 2 were post Title IX. We are not winning this conversation.
But I do love that your family, influenced you and shaped you and supports you in what you're pursuing, because, it just takes a little bit of a nudge. It just takes somebody to believe in you. And my dad passed away when I was 18. And so he never got to see me make it to the score. And I thought, oh God, how I would have loved coming home and telling him, oh my gosh, I talked to Michael Jordan today.
Yes.
He would have lost his mind. But there's so many sports things I think of on a daily basis. That's something he said when we were watching a game, or he had this little Bears beanie, like the stocking cap with the little pom-pom on top. And he would wear that downtown every day to his brokerage firm. And here's my dad, who was chubby and, just walking down the street, coming from the train station with his little Bears beanie on. And I mean, that was it. That was our family. We grew up on the Bears, and it's the team everybody could agree on. It wasn't this Cubs Sox divide that, splits up marriages, Melissa. I don't mean splits up like divorces. I mean, separate sides of the couch.
This is where my little Irish Catholic family on the north side comes in with the beef. We didn't root for teams that played at Wrigley because my grandpa was a diehard Cardinals fan. And so my uncle, they would go up north Wisconsin, and they visit the Packer Hall of Fame. So that's how my uncle became a Packers fan. And my other uncle still remained a Bears fan, and he was like kind of like my grandpa, where he followed the Cardinals. Like my grandpa followed the Cardinals until the day he died to Arizona. Like he was adamant. And we also became White Sox fans. I have told that to Cubs fans, and they're like, "But why?" I was like, they fired the only Irish Catholic manager, and he was the reason the Yankees had success. What part of this is not clicking? Like, what part of this are you not understanding?
Yep.
Like, well, all I'm getting is that you have a beef. And I'm like, oh, there's no beef. There's generational beef. I say when I have kids, like they can come home and tell me anything, and I'll be like, I support you, I love you, whatever. They come home a Cubs fan, they're out. They're like, they're going with their side of the family that's Cubs fans. Like, you're gonna be accepted. I will not. But it's
they're
not
gonna be like 6 years old, and she's gonna put them at the curb with their suitcases. Like
you're gonna think about this. You're gonna think about this decision. It's a lifelong decision. It's something you're born into. And that's where I'm like, maybe I got to go outside the Chicago dating pool, because I'm like, you know what? Now I think about it, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I have the Brewers and the Cardinals. It's allies here.
Yeah. I mean, but me and Melissa can both tell you, like, I used to, when I was single, I used to say, oh, I hope I meet a tall Catholic White Sox fan. Because I grew up Catholic, and I'm
That's me.
5'8", so I wanted to be with somebody who was taller than I was. And I was a diehard Sox fan. And I met my husband, who is 6'2", and he was raised Catholic like I was, but he's a Cubs fan. And I was like, well, God has a funny sense of humor. So
yep.
And Mark Grace and Mickey Morandini used to make fun of me all the time. Like, oh, Swieca, why are you a Sox fan, not a Cubs fan? I said, the Sox were good in 83. The Cubs were good in 84. I said, if you guys had your crap together a year earlier, I might have been a Cubs fan. But
you were a day late to the party, people.
Exactly.
But then you think of like the 83 team. My mom loved Harold Baines, and she has said, she's gone on the record and said, Delia's Harold Baines trade, or my Harold Baines trade, was Delia's Aaron Rowan trade in 2005. That just broke her.
Yeah.
I was 7. And I was like, I am done. I'm going to write the meanest letter to Ken Williams. I didn't. I wish I did, because maybe that would have been like a Mandela effect or something.
I would have signed your letter. You could have called
co-signed.
Yep.
And it's not. I love Jim Thome. I've met him multiple times. He is the nicest man in baseball. It was just, for me, I was like, you're losing a core guy, and he's the best. And then I'm like, but then I wouldn't have fallen in love with the Phillies and gone to the bank, and then kind of just fall in love when they were bad, like in 2015. I was like, you know what? This is okay. This worked out.
It all
works out, but it's like a funny way of how it all works out.
Exactly.
Yes.
Telling you, God has a strange sense of humor.
He does. And Brett will kill me if I forget to take a break. So I'm going to take a quick break so that whatever our people want to sell you, you're going to want to buy. So take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, welcome back. See, told you it wouldn't take very long. And we are going to keep our chat going, even though I think I told Julie we'd only have her for half an hour, but it's already half an hour.
And what did I tell you? I said, I'm yours for as long as you need me, because I just knew we'd all start talking, and it would just, it'd be like a bunch of girlfriends sitting at the bar talking. So
I was going to say, that's how it works for late night, right? You're like, oh, I'm just going to go out and have, a drink or grab a quick dinner. And then like 3 hours later,
I'm just going to have a drink, and and then someone like a siren song. I'll hear someone say something wrong, and it could be about the Yankees or a team I hate. And I'll be like, how dare you disrespect?
And you're in.
I'm like, I'm in. And my friends know they can't reel me out of that conversation. Like, one of my best friends, she's like, I don't know if I was in awe of Delia, or it was like during this past World Series, Halloween, like Freddie Freeman came back and won the game for the Dodgers, but like they were trading home runs back and forth between the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, guys, I know it sounds bad. I was trying to encourage like the one Michigan fan in the crowd who was wearing a Tom Brady jersey, which I could get into, but I won't. So I'll be nice.
No Tom Brady talk.
No, none. No Michigan talk. Like let's start this on a nice positive thing.
There you go.
I was like corralling all these, and it was right by the men's bathroom line. So I knew I was waiting for my other friend. And so I was like, oh, I'll be nice. I'll wait by there. So one dude was like, so what do you think about the World Series? And I was like, well, I could do without the specifics, like the graphic for Shohei Ohtani. Great. Wonderful. If I didn't know the lineup, I wouldn't know where he is. I don't need a graphic telling me that.
Yeah.
But I was so dead on. Even if I was wrong, I was right. Because I was corralling all these gentlemen. They were like, but the Yankees are bad. I'm like, the Yankees are in the World Series for the first time in 15 years. The last time they're in the World Series, you know what's the number one song? Empire State of Mind. You know what's the number one song this year? Not that song, but it's a song. I can't tell you what it is. I think it's Shabuzi. I don't know, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's a different team. It's a different mentality. And dang it if I can't see Anthony Rizzo be a little bit happy, like if he's on a different team. I'm happy if he's on a different team and having success. And then Game 5 happened. And I was like, oh, God, I'm not at that same bar because I don't know if I could live through that. I don't know if I could live that long. But
good timing.
It was great time. It's like I was on a high in Game 1. And then it all wasn't my fault.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I felt, Melissa. I was talking to my husband about how I was going to be on with you tonight, and he said, well, what are you going to say about how you feel about this year's White Sox? And he said, are you going to tell them that after like the first few games you were drinking the Kool-Aid and you thought the White Sox were going to be good this year and blah blah blah? I'm like, we still could be good. Like I will defend them to the day I die. I might know they're bad, but I don't want you to tell me they're bad. Like, you know, that whole, like, we can make fun of our siblings, you can't kind of thing.
Right. Like we can call ourselves bad and
we can call ourselves
bad. Right. But I mean, I was so excited that first trip through the rotation. I thought, okay. Ethan Katz and Brian Bannister, who I think is the best addition, like more than any player. Brian Bannister is like the addition I'm most excited about. What they're doing with pitching makes me think, oh, the Sox could stand a chance. And even the first 6 games of the season, the entire division was 2-4.
Right.
Tied at 2-4.
You're like, it's going to be crappy again. We can do this.
We're going to be the bottom of the barrel division.
Exactly. It's like the opposite of the Bears division, where all the teams are really formidable. Sox division, everybody sucks, and it's like last one standing. So I looked at that and I thought, well, yeah, we're 2-4, but so is everybody else. So
like Cleveland's 2-4. I don't see them complaining.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm sure you feel the same way I do about this. I hate everybody else in the division. It just depends who we're playing that week. But that particular week, I don't even
care if like a blood relative like makes it to the MLB. The second they sign with the Tigers or even Cleveland, I'm like, oh yeah, you're related to me by blood, but I don't recognize you. Like, goodbye.
Yeah, whenever we play one of these teams, they're officially my least favorite.
The Twins, like I have friends that are Twins fans, and like for a little bit there, we found camaraderie. And I was like, you know what? My mom would clone Joe Mauer if she could. If he had a brother, like she would clone him and marry me off to him. But that's not realistic. But in a different division, kind of similar ballpark. My friend who's a huge Rockies fan, we found camaraderie again, and like you cannot call us bad.
Right.
We can call ourselves bad.
Exactly.
But that's where I'm like, the national media attention we got, I was like, you can't call us that, okay? They're trying, okay? They beat the Angels, but I think beating the Angels isn't really
like beating anybody.
It's like kicking a puppy, honestly. I look at Mike Trout and I go, can you just be a little mean? Like, just be a villain. Be Bane or like a villain and just sign with a team that everyone doesn't want to win. And that's where I get like, I get why Shohei went to LA, but I was also like, could you at least like pick San Francisco? Like, so it's not like a highway part, because there's turf territory there, and someone might be like, someone might get you. But like, there's a highway. You're really gunning it.
Well, and I can't imagine there's anybody who's a sports fan who likes the Dodgers unless you're like born and bred a Dodgers fan. If you grew up loving the Dodgers, but everybody else in baseball hates you because you throw money at everybody and you think you're the best.
And it's monopoly money. It's monopoly money. Like, it's what they're giving them.
Well, it's Los Angeles. It kind of makes sense, right? I mean,
exactly. And I'm not going to lie. Like, you know, when my husband was getting up at 5 a.m. to watch the Cubs in Japan, and then he was like shuffling off to work all grumpy because they lost, I wanted to be like, ha ha. You thought you were so good, but you ran up against the Dodgers. Ha ha.
You guys thought you were all down a bag of chips. You're not even the chips. You're the air.
I watched the Cubs play. Where were they just last weekend in the A's games? Where they're in like this little bandbox ballpark. And I thought, well, when did we get to go there? Because of course you're putting up like 10, 18 runs a game because you're playing in that ballpark.
Nothing. Like, dude, it's a minor league ballpark. And then I'm like, if we played in a minor league ballpark and we were putting up those numbers, like, we're the best team in the league. We're going to the World Series. It's done. It's over.
Well, we need to call up our minor league guys. We need to call up like Chase Mydroth and Kyle Teal, and then we'll hit the heck out of the ball. That's what they're doing.
You might hit some baseballs. But then, like, my friends who are Phillies fans, they, like, go crazy. They're like, oh, my God, we can't do small ball. And I'm like, well, let me introduce you to a team that can't do either of those things.
Right? We can't do big, we can't do small, we can't do medium. We
can maybe hit it out of the ballpark. Maybe.
Maybe every now and then Andrew Benintendi gets a hold of one, but
when he's not hurt.
Okay. I'm a big Benintendi person because I'm like, you know what, Hawk Harrelson would have defended him. And then I'm like, no, he's in that Delia. Shut up.
I mean, I don't dislike him. It's not his fault they gave him all that money.
No. And it's not his fault he got the biggest contract. Like, we weren't throwing money at anyone.
Right.
And then, like, we had a seat at the table for Bryce Harper. And I'm like, when Wheeler signed with the Phillies, I was like, someone's wife tipped him off or, like, tipped her off to be like, girl, don't come here. Go to the Phillies. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I know I would have been the person that's like, dude, you do not want to come here. Like, we have great food, and we have good food and cooler people here, but you're going to fit in well. Like, you'll be thriving in Philadelphia.
But here's the thing I love is if you can win here, I mean, you're a hero for life.
For life.
I don't think any of the
look at those Bears.
Pay for their beers.
86 Bears can walk into any restaurant in Chicago and get a free steak, a free beer, a free bottle of wine. They're set for life, and they won one Super Bowl. Yep. And I just kind of feel like the people who want to make this work, the people who say, yeah, you know what, we've had some tough times, but I want to be there when it changes. Those are the people I want to, say you're my ride or die, because you believe that you can make a difference. You could take more money to go somewhere else, or you could be somebody who affects change here. You mentioned that I have a Northwestern degree. I love Chris Collins. I'm so relieved he just signed an extension with Northwestern. What Chris Collins has done on Northwestern's campus is he's creating an expectation that we're basketball school now. Like, when we don't make the NCAA tournament, we're like, well, we had injuries this year. I mean, they hadn't gone to the tournament in my lifetime. And under Chris Collins, they've been there 3 times in 5 years. So the fact that they got people to buy in who said, we're going to stay here. We're not going to chase the NIL money. We're not going to, go play for the Kentuckys of the world or the Dukes. We're going to play at Northwestern, where you traditionally are not a good team. And all of a sudden, like, they became heroes in Evanston. And I'm on a mailing letter, an email newsletter with 300 other Northwestern fans who are like over the moon drinking the purple Kool-Aid anytime Northwestern sports has something to brag about. And I just think it's cool when you buy in and when you're at that ground level and you say, like, yeah, we're the underdog guys and nobody gives us any credit, like Hoosiers with Gene Hackman, or God, there was even a movie. This is way before Delia's time, but Melissa, you might remember it. Called Meatballs. It was
yes,
summer camp movie with Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the underdogs at the end of the summer for their contest or whatever. And I just remember Bill Murray chanting with the campers, "It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter." Right. And I love the underdog story. We all do. And so like I have literally goosebumps over a stupid Bill Murray movie from like the 80s. But I mean, that's what it is. It's that if you're these young White Sox players, I hope you are, I don't want to say too dumb because that's not very nice, but I hope you're too naive to know you're supposed to be bad. I hope you say like, well, why not us? Like, go on and just.
Yeah. So do you think that Chris Getz and Will Venable can do that? Do you think it's possible?
I hope so. I feel so bad for Chris Getz because I feel like he was just so over his head when he took this job. Like he just wasn't ready. And he's had to learn on the job. I loved Kenny Williams, not because Kenny built us a World Series team, although that didn't hurt, but because he was so feisty. I mean, Kenny Williams was pissed off at the rest of baseball half the time. Yeah. And I loved that. I love that he just like, you know, screw it. We're White Sox and the rest of the world can just kiss off. I loved that about him. And so, you know, maybe we're just not edgy enough. Maybe we just don't have that, you know, kind of like you were talking about with Mike Trout, that maybe the White Sox just don't have that little bit of like, you know,
villainous.
Just almost like I don't want them to be cutthroat. I don't want them to be a bad locker room. I like that they have good chemistry. I think that will take them far. But I do want them to just think, you know, we're here. We made the team for a reason. We're in the big leagues. When they had that run through the rotation and all those pitchers I had been so excited to see actually showed up, I was like, whoa, okay, we might shock a few people this year. I am most excited for Shane Smith, like more than anybody on the team. I was excited for his start based on what he did in spring training. I'm looking on the schedule to see when he starts again. Like he's the guy I've kind of tagged as my, like, okay, this is the guy I'm going to say I was in on, you know, the ground floor rooting for him. I might go get his jersey if he's not going to be traded this year. Like I loved watching his family in the stands. I'm so on board with him. And
he might
I know
even
nothing
like
about him, but
you might have to go in the store and ask like to custom make that.
Have it made.
It made.
Yeah, but that's okay. I want to be that person who says like, I believed in you from the start. Like I was a Buehrle fan when he was in the bullpen when he got called up. And, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back like no one else knew how good he was. But you know, when he became Mark Buehrle, I was like, I remember when he was in the bullpen and I was talking to his dad in the locker room and we were just talking about, you know, riding tractors and stuff. And like, you remember when you're with somebody, when you're on board with someone who gets that level of success when nobody else believed in them. And I kind of think Sox fans are sort of protective of that right now, that you have a lot of Sox fans. Sure, Sox fans come off as cynical and bitter and blah, 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 and they kind of embrace that. But there's also that vulnerability, like you're protecting your heart as a Sox fan. And you just want to believe that, hey, we could be good. We could win some games. We might, you know, pull off an upset here or there. And maybe their players are going to surprise some people. I am beside myself that, like, they just don't have anybody you can count on to come up with a big hit. That to me is like all this pitching is going to be wasted. All this starting pitching, because I still have questions about the bullpen, but all this starting pitching is going to be wasted because you don't have anybody who can come up in a situation with men on and drive people in. And it doesn't matter who the manager is. That's been the last few years of White Sox baseball. So when Melissa is talking about like, well, you know, where's our Kyle Teal? You know, where are these guys? Chase Madroith, where are they? I want to see them up here too, sooner rather than later, because you need somebody who's going to back up your pitchers. When Talkman played yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, that guy's on our team. Like I forgot he'd been on the injured list and I thought, okay, he got a hit the first time up. He's going to contribute. That's what they need right now. But they're not going to challenge last year's losing record. It's not going to be that bad.
Okay. So you're a little on the glass half full part that they're still not going to be great, but they're going to have their struggles, but there's also reasons to feel hopeful.
Yes. Well said. Well said.
Do you feel hopeful at all, Delia?
Well, I mean, I was going to bring a little tidbit back to Northwestern basketball because they don't really play their neighbors in Rogers Park, Loyola, and my mom sat in a meeting where Porter Moser is being introduced. And so that's why I'm always like going to root for Porter Moser no matter where he goes. But I am the day Drew Valentine like committed, because I knew he was doing a lot of the recruiting. I was like, I am good. And I was a student at the time. And I was like, I am 1000% in. Anything like, I was interning with the ticket office. I'm like, anything he needs, it's done. It's over. Like we're getting this. And my mom's like, I come from an era where we maybe won a couple games against Butler, and that was a huge deal. And your expectation is winning and going. Like last week, I was at Hinkle Fieldhouse, and just being there gives you goosebumps because it's where they filmed the championship game in Hoosiers. And then we lost in the semifinals in NIT, but we were like, we kind of got a little coverage. Okay, let's win.
And played a lot longer than anybody else in the state.
The arrogant side of me was like, let's win the whole thing.
Yes.
And mid-majors won't be allowed, but we're going to do it. And I'm like, So I feel that way about the White Sox. We're like, we're not going to win the whole thing. We're not going to win the whole effing thing, like they say in Major League. Yeah. But we're not going to be like Major League, the threequel. There was a third one, or like back to the minor leagues.
Right.
But I feel cautiously optimistic, I guess, is like, I always say that because, again, the guarding of my heart as a White Sox fan, it's been battered, bruised, and sewn together, and it's still hanging in there because it will hang in there until the day I die. Like, I will love that team, love them, and I'm like, owners will go away. Owners will depart.
It'll be this way forever. That's what I keep telling you.
It's just, I think this one accidentally did a elixir and stayed alive. And I'm like, well.
Don't you kind of feel like it's when, and I like Jerry Reinsdorf. I have a really hard time with what's happened the last couple of years because he was always very good to me. You know, throughout my sports career, he was always very kind and very cooperative. So it's been really hard for me that this team has devolved into what it has last year under his watch. Yeah. But to me, it feels a lot like when the Wirtz kids were waiting for Dollar Bill Wirtz to die. And they just kept saying, when Dad's gone, we're going to put him on TV. When Dad's gone, we're going to make the Stanley Cup playoffs, blah, blah, blah. Like, as much as they loved their father, they knew nothing was changing as long as he was at the helm. And so I kind of feel like there's a very similar feel on the South Side right now. And who knows if the kids are even going to keep the team. Like, I don't know.
They want the Bulls only. They don't want the Sox, apparently. Like,
but we truly don't know, right? I mean,
no, they might have a change of heart, and I'm like, no.
That's whatever. We just are going here and there, you know.
Take a year. Take a sabbatical. Take a year. Take a year off. Don't make any major decisions. But while we're doing that, I'm going to have you turn. No, don't look at what I'm signing. I'm not signing away anything because I'm not a lawyer. This lawyer for the White Sox is going to do that.
Yes. Yes. I think at some point, and again, I struggle with this because I feel very disloyal to Jerry Reinsdorf because I feel like I'm stabbing him in the back when I say, like, well, at some point they'll be under different management and it will hopefully go back to winning days. I do believe him when he says he wants them to win. I don't understand the disconnect between wanting them to win and not doing what you can to help them win.
Yes.
Like, that to me is a struggle.
Saying one thing but doing another, right?
Right. And everybody who knows anything about Jerry Reinsdorf knows he has said that one World Series means more to him than 6 Michael Jordan championships. He grew up with the Brooklyn Dodgers. He grew up a baseball fan. He would love to have multiple World Series teams, but then you have to do something about it. You have to. You can't joke about how you're not going to be in the Shohei Ohtani meetings or whatever. Like, don't even joke about that. Even if you're not, don't say that to your fans.
It's insulting. Yeah. It's very insulting.
Right. And it's like insulting our intelligence. Like, we don't want you to be in those meetings. Like, it's already a hassle with the media. It's already like, you don't want to become the oversaturated team. Like, I think oversaturation is a better word for it. And overexposed, oversaturated.
Right.
You don't want to be the team that, like, you slip up one minor thing, fender bender, what have you. You slip up once, you're crucified. Where you're kind of like, not that saying that anything the White Sox have done with a specific player in mind is right, but like, keep giving this guy's chances and he blows it every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, thank God we don't have national media on our backs because I'm already embarrassed enough for all of us. Like all 5 of us, or however many, because I think I have a thicker skin, not only as a sister, but also like just as a sports fan and a woman in sports, because the amount of times I've gotten made fun of on the north side, or like I had a lot of friends who were Sox fans and friends who were like, my parents just want me to be like a world peace person. I'm like, cool, you're a Sox fan. We take those. We count those. You want to work for Greenpeace? We count those. You're part of us. We count those. It's like in 30 Rock, like we count those. That's us.
I'm proud to be a White Sox fan. I really am.
I am too. It's kind of like your one family member where you're like, they have their moments, but I love them.
Right.
Like,
right.
I wouldn't give them a kidney, but if I was a match, I'd probably give them a kidney. But I don't have the money to give them anything.
I get it. Yeah. And you can be the butt of everyone's joke. That's fine. Believe me, the Cubs had crummy weather for their game tonight, and they showed the stands, and there's hardly anyone in the stands. And I joked to my husband because I almost called him Todd Berger, the former Bears offensive lineman. Jake Berger, now playing for the Rangers. I said to my husband, "Oh, he must feel right at home. It's just like a South Side crowd." And my husband laughed, and I was like, "See,
you can't laugh. I can laugh."
But that's just it. It goes back to I can make fun of us. You can't. If my husband said that, I'd be like, that's mean. But if I say that, I'm like, I'm hilarious. I'm so funny. But that's just it. Like there were days when, the Cubs weren't trendy, the Blackhawks weren't trendy, and they didn't draw a whole lot. So, you can make fun of the Sox attendance. That's fine. That just means more room for the rest of us on the concourse and more chocolate milkshakes for everybody or whatever, like better parking. I don't care. I would love to see the ballpark packed every day because I feel like it's more fun and because the players thrive off that. At opening day, like it wasn't a sellout crowd. I don't think they might have announced it, but it definitely wasn't packed.
Yeah, no.
And I kind of felt like these little young players who are just getting here, who are making their big league debut with the Sox, and I felt like the scene
would have pinched their cheeks whenever they make their big league debut. I don't know why. It's like a maternal thing. I'm just like, look at you did it. And then anytime I find out about like a promise they made, like a departed relative, I go, the Bob Costas in me wants to be negative about this somehow.
Oh no.
But the woman in me is like, this is the most beautiful thing in all of sports. This is why I love this. This is why I love talking about it. This is why I love doing it.
Exactly.
That's why I love covering the wonders. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'm in.
Opening day when they're announcing all these players that are, at the park for the first time, it reminded me of the scene in League of Their Own when they first introduced the Rockford Peaches, and they're all standing there like, just keep smiling. Are they laughing at us? And they're like so self-conscious and embarrassed, and they're still trying to smile. And so here they are on the baseline, and they're trying to smile because it's opening day. And I'm like, oh, please cheer for them. Please let them know we're excited they're here. And
yes,
they didn't do anything wrong. They're just happy to be here.
Right.
Like their first game
their dreams have come true. Their dreams have absolutely come true. Something
this is like their Disney World. Okay, it may not be the nicest, but it's their Disney World.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm going to say hi to your doggy that's in the background because is that the Cavapoo?
That's Ernie. Yes, that's the Cavapoo.
Oh,
the Cavachon is trying to jump up, but he's littler and it's like too high. So he's like, ah!
That's awesome. I love the photo bomb. I'm like, more dogs. That's great.
I gave them both downstairs.
That's our like poor little White Sox guys who are, new. I do think there is something to not having been in a culture where the clubhouse is depressed because you're losing every day. Like if you don't know any better, if you just show up and say like, hey, these are cool guys. And I think to throw some bouquets to CHSN, I think their coverage has been terrific because they understand there's a balance of not just the big league coverage, but also what's going on with the minor leaguers, what's going on with the prospects.
Yeah. Down on the farm is like the cutest thing. And they make little farm noises. And like, that is by far one of the cutest things.
Yes.
And like, they might've done like a little thing with Yeah, and I'm like ride or die CSN. Like I will still call it Comcast Sportsnet, kind of like I'll call it Sears Tower, everything, because that's where like I saw the most women, and that's where I was like, oh, I can do this. Like I can definitely do this. So just a little like, not a pot shot at NBCSN, but just a little like, I'm always nostalgic for CSN because they had the coolest intro. But CHSN has been great with like, I do want to know how they're doing. Like, are we tending to them? Like, are we helping them grow?
Right. Taking care of the chicks.
Yeah, a little chick. I call them little chicklets sometimes. I'm like, no, that's like what you call a bit. I'm like, no, they're like more like, some of them are tall, so I call them little calves, like little cows.
That works too. I mean, they had something the other day on, I think it was during the rain delay over the weekend, and I don't remember what they called the show. I wrote it down, but it was basically like a prospects show for half an hour. And they were interviewing, I think it was Noah Schultz. It was either Noah Schultz or Hagen Smith. I think it might have been Noah. And he's like walking through their apartment. And he's like, oh, so-and-so's my roommate. And this guy, and he's showing like, here's my white noise machine. And here's my room. It's kind of sparsely decorated. And he's like giving you a tour of their living quarters. And they're like college guys, you know, living together in an apartment or whatever. It was so cute to see like how they're adjusting to their life in the minor leagues together and how much they root for their teammates.
A little. It makes me want to root for them and humanize them. Like, just wait until like you're in a Chicago apartment and it's like so much bigger and it's like bigger stage, but you're okay now. Like it's okay. This is Charlotte. This is how you prepare. This is how you get ready. This is how you like put on a little bulletin board. Like, this is my dream. I'm gonna achieve it. Like,
and this is what I thought was such smart marketing by the White Sox or CHN, whoever's behind it. Like, get people to know these young guys. Get people hooked on them now, because that's what you're selling. If you're the White Sox marketing department, you're selling, look at this team and how good they're going to be in a few years, and get to know them now. Like you're saying, Delia, get to know these guys now while they're still green and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and oh boy, I'm playing baseball.
The cynicism hasn't caught up to them yet.
Right. And then, they'll get up here and they'll be, squashed. But I want
dreams.
Right. I love that coverage. I think it's brilliant. Even when I think Connor McKnight has done a great job on the broadcast so far.
McKnight in this role. I think he's great at it. I'm really proud of him. And
Brooke Fletcher talking about women in sports. I think she's done a great job. What they've done with their two sideline reporters has added so much to the broadcast. And Connor specifically focusing on the minor leagues. That's kind of like his specialty. Every time I see him come on, like, I stop what I'm doing to see what he's reporting about, because it might be something like, oh, so-and-so's getting called up, or, this guy hit 2 home runs today. And they're the minor leaguers that we want to hear about. I was the person who would get to the press box and they'd have a little packet of stats of the minor leagues. And I would sit there and I'd be highlighting and scouting and like, oh, who's doing well down on the farm? And I love that side of it, because you wanted to know what's in the pipeline. And the teams that can say like, oh, we have 6 of the top 100 prospects in baseball or whatever, are the teams that are banking on that to become a selling point down the road. My fear is the White Sox will have a team next year that can contend, and there will be a work stoppage, and it will be 94 all over again.
Yes. Oh gosh, I'm having some PTSD.
My mom, you would think she went through war when she talks about 94. And like she got married that year. They are no longer, like, that was my dad. They are no longer. He knows. It's not like a not private thing, but she talks about that year, and then my uncle will talk about it. And then like, I'm like, well, the only person I would want to hear from is like both my grandparents. That was like their summer thing. That's our summer home. We didn't have that anymore. And that's where I was like, I think I was kind of inundated a little bit, or like not red, but like kind of just Jerry pilled a little bit. Like, this man caused this. And I'm like, I heard that at birth, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But I definitely heard it somewhere.
Maybe in utero.
My mom was like, dang it, Jerry.
It's true. I mean, I have somewhere in our sports basement my tickets that are from that year for the World Series that was not played. We didn't have season tickets, but there's a lovely lady who's retired now. Her name's Tony Giannetti. Tony covered baseball for the Sun Times for years. And I loved being around Tony in the press box because she was well respected, well liked. And Tony had season tickets to the Cubs and the Sox. And she gave me framed one year the Sox 1994 World Series tickets for the World Series that was not played. And it still breaks my heart because I think, gosh, they had such good pitching back then. And they had Frank Thomas. And there were guys that you really thought were going to crush the rest of the American League if they, got farther into the playoffs. And I just remember thinking, oh, please don't ever do that to me again. And when I keep hearing people talk about a work stoppage next year, I'm like, son of a, it's going to be when the Sox are getting good and their young guys are contributing. And oh, wait, never mind. There's no World Series this year. Not that they'd be a World Series team next year, but dare to dream. I hate having any sort of work stoppage in any sport, but I definitely don't want to see my summer ruined. I don't want to see it come crashing to a halt because people can't work out their stuff.
The union person in me, I'm like, but I don't want these players disparaged. Gut these owners like a fish. Like, cut them, kill them. I want Max Scherzer to look you in his good eye or his cool eye. I want him over the table because this won't be on Zoom. I want him over the table trying to strangle someone. Like, I think that man is scary. And it's not because he has to do chromia. It's just I want that man defending my honor. Like, I think he's the player rep, the pitcher rep at least.
Yeah.
Together with the scary guy and then the scariest guy on the player, like position player side. So
I would pay to have that streamed or have it on.
I want to see Max Scherzer try and deck someone. Like, go.
That would be awesome.
I would pay like pay-per-view prices. I don't care. It's like, okay, this is entertainment. Like,
exactly.
It's not baseball, but it's entertainment.
I would be down with that. We need
Andy
to put
Cohen
something
host.
Together. Talk to some broadcast people about this.
That's Andy Cohen's dream job of hosting, not the Real Housewives. That's his dream gig.
Melissa, I'm happy to see the Cavapoo made it up there. Woohoo!
He did.
Good job.
Oh my gosh.
Dog mama. Dog mama at heart all day long.
I get excited when my 99-pound dog doesn't need my help to get up on the bed. He's 4. He knows he can get a running start and get up, but he's just lazy.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's the underdog right there. That's the scrappy. That's White Sox fan mentality. Someday I will get up on the bed, and that's where we're at right now. Like, can the White Sox jump up on the bed next year? I really would hate to see this team finally make some strides and start winning fans back and becoming something of a national media interest story, even if we're not like media darlings, just to have people want to put our games on Fox on a Saturday. You never know.
I just don't want AJ Brzezinski calling our games anymore. If I can just drop that hot take, I don't want him calling our games anymore. He lost me during the Astros series, and I just cannot be won back. Because every time I hear him, I go, well, you didn't say that about this guy who pitched a no-hitter in 2021. But okay, fine. You want to be mean? Fine, be mean. I'll be worse.
Melissa, I think I'm going to have to agree to disagree with Delia on AJ because I love him. So
I loved him as a player. I don't love his broadcasting career.
Yeah. No,
I loved him as a player.
I think AJ is just, he's always been just completely transparent, right? Like,
yeah. And I think I have to appreciate that.
Yeah. And, when we're getting our butts handed to us, like, we just didn't want to hear one of our own telling us that. But he wasn't telling us anything that wasn't true.
Yeah, you're saying things that are hurting my feelings. And I know they're right. I know you're right. But have you considered I'm hurt?
Yeah.
Like, I'm hurt.
Yeah, I don't think it
matters. I heard him call the Mets, and it was against the Phillies, and I was like, okay, I'm biased. I like that. No one likes the Phillies. Like, no one likes the Phillies. It's fine. It's the Mets. And I was like, but no one really likes the Mets.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A New York team?
New York team's like one of the two. You're going to always side with the Yankees. Unless you're Bob Costas, then you just hate the Yankees, and you hate Giancarlo Stanton. And I was like, why am I becoming a defender of Giancarlo Stanton? That man's never played for a team that I cared about. Like, why am I defending him? Like, why am I defending his honor?
So it's like an anti-Costas backlash on your part?
It's a little bit. I think it's because I'll hear it and it'll reverb, and I go, the Pedro Strop thing was out of pocket, right? He should have been fired for that. And I'm not a Cubs fan, but that's like, you're asking for some departed relative for mercy, like for this failure. And I'm like, he didn't load the bases. He came into a dirt, like the inning wasn't clean.
Yeah.
He got out. He like pointed to the heavens. No, that's mean. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm a little too soft. Maybe I'm a little too soft for sports. But I'm like, I wouldn't say that about someone like doing that, like pointing up to the sky. No, you don't know who they're pointing at. They're just pointing at someone that they care about. And I'm all for it.
Look at that amazing constellation up there.
Costas, you can't comment on someone's age in baseball and then get bullied on social media. So they stopped, like TBS is like, yeah, Bob Costas won't be announcing anymore. He's taking a step back. And I'm like, oh, that's it. He got fired. He got demoted. He's just doing the interviews now. Like he got pulled out of the press box.
I mean, there's always going to be broadcasters that, you know, aren't popular with everybody. I love watching Joe Buck do games.
I did too.
So many people
and
can't
I learned
stand
to appreciate him later in life. After I heard Joe Davis, I mean, that's no shade to Joe Davis. I think he's great for LA. It's just when you're hearing LA based stuff in a national broadcast, you're kind of like, we're in. This is Chicago. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if we're aware of that, but I just wanted to let you know where you hopped off the flight.
Exactly.
You landed at Midway or O'Hare, probably Midway because of proximity. But I just wanted to remind. But Joe Buck, like, you could tell, but you couldn't at the same time. Like, I think he was obviously favoring the Cardinals because that's where Jack Buck was.
Right.
Then you hear him talk, and he's like, I almost didn't go to my dad's bedside when he was dying. And then something tapped me on the shoulder, and I was like, oh, God, I got to go. And I'm like, I respect a man that calls his podcast Daddy Issues. I respect the hell out of that guy for doing that. And doing it with Oliver Hudson, like, that's very, you wouldn't think they'd be friends, but you're like, okay, yeah, they probably crossed paths and decided, hey, let's be two dudes with the podcast.
Right.
It's funny, and it's like, I loved him in Brockmire, and I was like, why do I love him in Brockmire so much? I'm like, he's playing himself. Delia, he's not, like, he is a guest role. Like, he is playing himself.
Yes.
But I think my grandma muted the television so she could hear Farmio or Ed Farmer call the last out of the World Series. Or we listened to the World Series exclusively on radio. And it was a year or two after my grandfather just passed away, and he didn't get to see that happen. But his older brother, so he was the middle of three brothers, and they're kind of the patriarchs. His middle brother passed away the night the White Sox won the World Series. So we all joked, like, he went up immediately yelling that he was like, the White Sox had finally won. And
his business on earth was done. He's like,
his job was, he had to see it through. And my grandpa had his major, like, health thing the night Bartman caught the ball.
Oh, man.
And the joke was, my mom's like youngest of six, so it was like very Irish, very dark. They couldn't believe that they could have made it to the World Series. And so he, like, couldn't deal with that. Couldn't grapple with that. He couldn't handle it. And we're like, no, he would have been. I'm like, no, that man would not have been civil about the Cubs in the World Series. Like, I think I know my grandfather. He would not have been civil. He would have been fine in 2016. Like, he's like, yeah, let that old man Ross win one more World Series. You already won one in Boston. What? Boston not good? He was also the same one that would go, the Sox and the Sox are playing each other. And he's like, I think the Sox will win.
Yep. That joke never gets old.
Very grandfather. And I'll still say it to myself, like, you know, I think the Sox are going to win, Mom. And she's like, you are the worst. Like, I'm doubling down.
You're carrying on family tradition is what you're doing.
Yes. I'm carrying on. So I'll say it to my younger, or like his great grandchildren, and they go, Delia. I go, you are not getting rid of me yet.
Yeah, she's like 27 years old.
No, I mean, like, you're not getting rid of my sense of humor.
For like 40 years.
The generations of the men and women before me. I'm talking about my sense of humor. You're not getting rid of it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, Jesus. Okay.
Well, We've taken so much of your time,
Yeah.
Julie. Like, what a saint. Like, we're an hour and 15 minutes in. And so, but before we go, I want to get your prediction. So you've got to put in your win-loss prediction for the 2025 White Sox for all of our fandom. What do you think? What do you got?
Oh man, this is hard. This is hard. You know what? How about 62 and 100?
Okay.
I think that's my exact prediction. I went
really nice,
60.
like 21 game.
Fist bump.
Yeah, 21 game improvement, but still, no, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, not winning the division, even though I really, really want them to. And that would be a great little story. But yeah, I think as long as they're making strides and you can see progress and see those stones being laid for the future, I'm all in. I really want to see them. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about Will Venable, but Delia did mention when he was in the laundry basket, which I thought was so adorable.
I was like, I can't get enough of this guy. Like, can he just be like, I wanted to be like, you can get this team there. I mean,
That's
I don't think
what I'm hoping.
Ricky Renteria, where like he is the guy before the guy.
Yeah.
But the guy before, we could have had Terry Francona, and then we hired Robin Ventura. And I was like, I had just read Terry Francona's book, and I'm like,
how many times could we have had Terry Francona?
Jerry, why weren't you on the phone? You called him right up. And I don't know what possessed me. I think it was probably some angry relative or someone definitely just came through, and I was like, call that man. Because I became a Terry Francona defender for whatever reason. I was like, there were certain players like, I will never talk to you or speak to you. Yeah, you're dead to me because of how you treated Terry Francona. Or, circle.
That's strong. That is strong hatred. But I think Will Venable intrigues me because I don't know enough about him, and they keep showing like, here's Chuck Garfine's extended interview with him. Like, they're trying to let you in on what makes him tick. And I think for most Sox fans, until we see him making like decisions with the bullpen or decisions with the lineup, we're still like not sold on you. We like you. We think we like you, but we're not going to give you a second date yet. So I think we're all just kind of like waiting to see. The players love him, which I think is a huge start.
Yeah.
And if he's got them buying in, I just want them prepared. I want them prepared when they take the field, because there were so many times under Pedro, I was thinking, what are you doing?
What have you been doing all this
time? Are we in like a circus training video? Like, what are we watching? We watching film? Or are we watching like...
There's no reason why you showed up flat or why you showed up. When you show up unprepared, this kills me. Like, you show up unprepared. You had all these resources. You have scouts. You have tape. You have coaches. You have all these people who can tell you like, hey, so-and-so throws his slurve 28% of the time. They can tell you what to look for. You can like sit and study. I love when I see the guys on their iPads in the dugout. I'm praying they're not watching YouTube videos. I'm praying they're watching
iPad kids.
Yeah, but I'm praying they're sitting
there like in their 30s. I'm like, iPad kid.
But I mean, if Ethan Katz is showing his pictures, like, okay, see where you missed the strike zone here. I love that. I love like use that technology. Embrace the fact that they are, that they grew up on technology, and this is the way you get through to them. And there's no excuse for not being prepared for these games. Now, if it's something like basketball where, this game, this team shot all these 3-pointers, so we better defend the 3. And the next game they come in and they go in the post and you're like, whoa, what happened to all the 3-pointers? Like, there are adjustments made in football, in basketball. In baseball, pitchers and hitters have tendencies. And if you're not prepared for them, you're stupid.
Right, because there's no excuse to not be prepared with all the access to the information that they have these days.
Right. You can be just not good enough to compete. You can say like, well, our cleanup hitter isn't as good as their cleanup hitter or whatever. Their pitcher is Cy Young and our guy is, a little scrappy off the bench guy or whatever. But
it's our Ollie from Hoosiers. We just got him. He's the manager.
Right.
He's up.
Right. You want them to feel like they've done everything they can to prepare themselves, whether they have the talent or not. Because sometimes that little bit of preparation might be the difference between winning and losing in a game that you lost by 1 run. Right. So, and oh my God, if we just stop getting thrown out on the base pass this season, I will consider it an improvement.
Huge
I
improvement.
would consider it a success if we stop getting thrown out on the base paths and picked off. And God, we were so stupid on the base paths last year.
I get
literally
so mad.
screaming at the TV every game, like, what are you doing? So hopefully I can live with grounding into double plays. If, you're trying to put the ball in play, you're trying to move the runner over. It happens. Sometimes you just hit the ball and the guy's right there and he makes a great play. I can deal with that. But the stupidity on the base paths and even
the basics of things that you think that they should have learned, like in Little League, right? Of how to
Like,
do
hey,
rundowns, effective
It
rundowns.
looks like a foul bunt and a foul tip. Don't steal second. Don't steal third. Stay at your base. If I have to go in, because my mom also raised me with a lot of confidence. She's like, honey, I raised you that you could be a hitting coach. And you just be like, dude, what was that? What are you doing? That's wrong. You understand that.
Raise your hand if in a game so far this year, you've cheered because the outfielders didn't collide.
Yes.
I got so upset. I hold my breath because I still think Eloy Jimenez is out there, and I go, yeah, someone's gonna hit the wall. Someone's gonna hit the wall. Someone's gonna be debilitated, out for a season. We're gonna have Arms of the Angel by Sarah McLachlan play them off. This is an ASPCA commercial.
That's just what I was thinking. Yep, we need those in our house. But yes, it is. It's so much. It's so sad that the bar is so low. Not only are we saying, hey, let's not lose as many games as we lost last year when we set the record. We're saying things like, oh, our outfielders didn't run into each other. Oh, we didn't make a stupid out at third for the, last out of the inning.
Vaughn didn't fumble the ball.
No,
he thinks this is football.
But every time I get down on him, he hits a home run, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're all right for another few days.
That was me with Gavin Sheets because my since departed cousin Grace just loved him. Yeah. And I was rooting for him. I was really rooting for him. And every time I was rooting for him, he would just be like, quiet. There was nothing. And I'm like, I felt like one of the bad parents or relatives in Home Alone, you little jerk. What are you doing? I'm like, no, that's not how you get through to them. You got to be nice.
If it's any consolation, Delia, Gavin Sheets did play a role in the win over the Cubs yesterday. The Padres win over the Cubs. So,
well, he gets that.
So if that helps you sleep better.
Well, we're still so early in the year, but I think we have seen, like you said, they're not running into each other. They have
fundamentals are there,
competent in the base paths and things like that. So I think we have to we're gonna have you back, Julie, so they can revisit mid-season and be okay.
All-star game review. We have all-stars.
Yes.
I like it. I like it. Check in and see how the predictions are panning out. And maybe by then we'll have Kyle Teal up here. Maybe.
Yes. And maybe some of the pitchers that are down there too, they'll be up, and then we can move some of the guys to the bullpen, and then it'll just all start falling into place.
I love it. I love how you're thinking. I'm in. So
we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. So
Hannibal just has that likability factor to him. I don't know why, but when he was introduced, and it was maybe because I was oh, I'm biased. He's getting introduced via a Bulls game, and I'm just happening to watch the coverage. Or I think it might have actually been a Hawks post-game, pre-game live, and they were just introducing him. And I was he has a buy-in ability. I don't know what it is about him, but I'm buying in. I'm buying in right now. We can't be as bad as we were last year. We could be better. We could be worse. Is this guy going to get us to be better? Or is he going to get us to be worse? And I just love it when a team buys in with their manager. It's just a nice feeling. They get him in on a if they get him in and they have celebrations and the manager's in on them, that's the cutest. I love it. I'm obsessed with that.
I think there's a missed opportunity there for a slogan. 2025 White Sox baseball. It can't be as bad as it was last year.
Yes. White Sox, sign her up. Look at that. Free.
Brooks Boyer, I gave you that for free.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been so much fun. And don't hate me because I'm it's going to be a half an hour, and then we kept you so long. But it's been so much fun.
I messaged you. I said, as long as you need me, I'm yours. I'm anytime you need me, reach out. I would love to chat again.
Okay, well, we're gonna check in definitely midway into the season, and we can see how we're all holding up, and if we're seeing some of that progress.
Central could be worse than us. That would be a miracle, but it would be really funny.
I'm in for checking it out. Check on in.
All right. Well, we will do that then. And okay, Sox fans, we're going to wrap up Ladies Night for this week, and we'll be back at you next week.